I'm Zach.
I'm Wayne.
And we are from the Yo Bro Gaming and Review channel. And we're here to review Supernatural Season 11, Episode 10, titled The Devil in the Details. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like. We're going to go over the plot of the story. We're going to try to make this as quick of a review as we can. We don't want to waste all your time. If you love the show like we do, hopefully you'll like this video. So we open up. It's Crowley dressed in a old gigantic
onesie.
Yeah, it's funny.
Footy pajamas.
And Rowena's coming down the stairs with antlers on her head and a red
Rudolph nose.
Flashing. He's like, "Look, Mom, got a Sam." And it's
like
such
one of them pop vinyl Sams.
Yeah, it's all weird. You're like, what is going on?
It's like Christmas. I didn't know that the King of Hell or Prince of Hell celebrated Christmas.
Right? And you hear a knock at the door, and the door knocks down, and here comes Santa Claus. And he's like, "Oh, Santa, what'd you get me?" And he pulls out
a candy cane and kills Crowley.
Stabs him.
And I'm sitting there like...
We find out it's Lucifer. The next scene, you see Sam and Lucifer in the cage, and they're talking. And you find out through their conversation that Lucifer used Rowena as a way to help get him
out of hell.
In a way, yeah. And so what we saw in the opening was actually just a dream, that she had a very effed up, weird dream. But then they start bantering. He tells him, "Hey, you know, I'm your only hope to beat the darkness." And Sam pretty much tells him, "No, I'm betting on Dean and me to do this. I'm betting on Dean to come and to break me out." He says, "So torture me, do whatever you want. I'm cool with it." He says, "I'm not going to torture you." He says, "I'm going to show you I'm your only hope." And then you see...
like, I don't mean to cut you off. He said, "I'm not going to torture you. That was so 5 years ago."
Yeah, that was so 5 years ago. So I love Lucifer. The guy who plays him, I'm sorry I don't know his name. Such a good job as Lucifer. He's fantastic. So Lucifer shows Sam a flashback, and you see Sam he looks over and he sees is himself as a teenager with some teenage girl, and he's like, "This is what I want to show you." We cut to seeing Crowley and Rowena in a room, I'm assuming in hell, talking, and we do find out later on they are in hell. But they're talking, and he's like, "You're dead, you know, and you betrayed us, blah, blah, blah." He says, "How long have you been working for him?" She's like, "Oh, only a few months." He's like, "So what? What do you get out of this?" And she pretty much tells him, you know, after he defeats the darkness, if he gets Sam to say yes, after he defeats the darkness, he's going to ascend back to heaven, take his throne, and she becomes his queen. From there,
or his little bitch, whichever, either or.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things. But then we see Dean in the car driving, trying to get a hold of, you know, tries to call Crowley, tries to call Sam, and everything starts kind of getting all weird and distorted. So he finally stops. He gets out and he just starts throwing up. Well, Cash shows up and he's like, "Dean, you okay?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sick. What's wrong with me?" So he's checking him. And he asks him how far is he from the blast radius of the smiting. And he says, "Oh, it's like a mile back that way." And he's like, "Oh, you have, what does he call it?
Smiting sickness.
Yeah, smiting sickness.
Probably the funniest thing I've ever heard in this entire 11 seasons of this show.
Smiting sickness. He's like, "That's a thing?" He's like, "Yeah, the closer to it you get, the sicker." And he says something about turning one person into salt. That's pretty extreme. So he tells Dean he needs to go the other way. So Dean's like, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'll go find Sam." He's like, "You go there, see if Amara is dead. If she is, bring the body back to us. If she's not, run." So we're back at Sam's flashback scene. So Lucifer says, "You know, this is the good stuff." And he's like, "Why? Because we're kissing?" It's like, "No, because you used to be bold. You know, you used to just go and get it." He's like, "Sam, you were a hero."
Yeah.
He's like, "You fought me." He's like, "That took guts." He's like, "But now I don't know."
They just become a pushover.
So then we see, Dean, he's trying to find Sam because he went back to the bunker and he's not there. And Crowley calls him. He's like, Crowley, you son of a bitch. Where's Sam? He's like, oh, yeah, Moose. He's in hell. So we see Sam and Lucifer, and they're coming up to the cemetery from season 5. I don't remember the name of the cemetery.
Stoll
Cemetery, thank you. And he's like, Stoll Cemetery. He's like, yep, the big title fight. And you see them, the scenes from that episode.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lines that Cass ever said was, "Hey, ass butt."
Yes, you see that scene. He's like, ass butt. I never quite got that. Dude's funny. He's got good comedic timing. I love him.
Hey, ass butt.
And he says, despite what you think, he's like, I respect you. He's like, I respect you because you fought me. He says, I don't like you, and I didn't like you. He's like, but I've grown. He's like, but I respect you because you fought me, and you won. And I'm looking at this. He says, you do what's right. You did it even knowing that you were going to go to hell and probably die. He says, and that's what I respected about you. He says, but now you've gone soft. And he explains later why he thinks that. So we see Cass, he's at the site where the smiting took place, and it's dark, so you're assuming, okay, it took an angel a while to get back there. That's weird. But he runs into this woman, and he's like, who are you? She's like, oh, I'm Ambrielle. Real original, CW. She says, I'm with the Birth and Death Statistics. And he's like, heaven sent you? She's like, yeah, I'm here to find out if Amara is dead or not. It's like, but are you here to kill me? He's like, no. And so they don't kill each other. They have a little conversation. He says, well, maybe we can work together. It's like, okay. It's like, well, I checked the entire eastern part of the force and I've not seen anything weird. He's like, really? It's like, you do know it's in the middle of the afternoon. She's like, yeah. He's like, then why is it dark? Aha! We see Dean at this building. He's like, Cass, call me back. I'm heading into hell. And he knocks on the door, and this lady answers. And she's like, password. He's like, Crowley sent me. Now open the door. She's like, password. And Ethan, what was the password he ended up having to do?
He ended up singing a song. I forget the song lyrics, but he ended up singing a song, and then she let him in.
Dean gets in, and she says something. He's like, oh, you're pretty funny for a demon. She's like, I'm not a demon. He's like, what? She's like, I'm a reaper. He's like, Billy? She's like, yeah. He's like, so are you going to kill me? She's like, no, I'm just here so when you are dead, I can make sure you stay dead. It's like, so what? You work for Crowley? She's like, no, I work with Crowley. So she lets him into hell, and he goes in. Okay, so Ethan had to step out, so I have to finish this by myself. So we had to cut and finish. I don't exactly remember where I left off. Ethan did want me to tell everyone that he really, 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 really liked this episode. He liked the dynamic between Lucifer and Sam, so that was his biggest thing. His biggest downside was Rowena in this episode, and the fact that they had to kill her off. Okay, where I last left off, we were talking about Dean going into hell. So we pick up with Sam actually seeing another flashback of him with Amelia back in season 8 talking. Lucifer says this was the moment that he went soft, because the fact that he left Dean in hell, it was something that messed with him, because he didn't think that it would affect him. He thought that Dean would come back, everything okay, but it wasn't, and it's affected him ever since. So he said that that's the moment where Sam stopped worrying about the world and just worried about him and his brother and chose them over everything else. And he even brought up the point that even with the mark, knowing that it was going to bring bad things, he still did it anyways. So next we see Dean. He's in hell. He ends up running into Crowley, who used having to vomit as an excuse to get away from Rowena. They discuss getting Rowena bound with this thing called a witch catcher, which looks like a noose for her neck with these sharp things, and So they go in the room. She says she already knows what they were talking about. And he says it's okay, but they still subdued her because of the tea doing something to her, and now they have complete control of her, even to the point they have her hopping on one leg like a little doggy. It was actually quite hilarious. So you see Cass and Ambrielle, they had talked earlier about them both being expendable, and how with Cass, he's expendable because the real heroes were Sam and Dean. I don't think he took to that very well. So you see Cass and Ambrielle, they find Amara, but you find out she's not dead. So then you come from a commercial break and you just see Cass running, yelling for her, and he comes across her, and you see Amara sucking her essence, sucking her grace out of her body. And then the darkness just all comes back inside of her. And Cass tells her, I'm not scared of you. What'd you do to her? And she tells him, and he tries to stab her. She stops him. He's like, kill me. I'm not scared of you. She's like, yes, you are. I can smell the fear on you. He says, but I'm not going to because you're not worth the time. He says, plus, I have something for you to do. And she touches him, and he disappears. Then you kind of notice she stumbles a little bit. So I think she's a little weakened from when they tried to smite her. But who knows? She might gain power back. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look in the camera, but I keep looking at myself on the screen. But I'm looking at you. The people I love, the people I want to see. Love me! So we get back to the cage. Lucifer tells him, look, I'm your hope. You can trust me. He's like, we can beat the darkness. He's like, but all you have to do is just say a word that starts with a Y and ends with an S. And Sam's just sitting there. He's like, no. He's like, just no. So you see Dean, Crowley, and Rowena talking, and how they're planning on how to stop Lucifer, and how the spell will only work if Rowena gets the spell done before Sam can say yes. Well, next thing you know, you see one of the demons come in. Sir, we tried to stop him, and then you see Castiel come in the room, and he's like, I came here because Amara had a message for you. And he opens his shirt, and it just says, I'm coming. And they're like, here? And Dean's like, just in general. So then you cut back into the cage, and now Sam and Lucifer are arguing back and forth. He's like, no, are you stupid? He's like, I can beat this. He's like, you had me fooled. He's like, for a second, I almost believed you. He's like, but then I thought, what if you can beat it? He's like, well, yeah, that's the point. I can beat it. He's like, no, that's not it. It's like, if you beat it, then what? He's like, you go to heaven. He's like, we can go to LA, be detectives, whatever. He's like, no. It's like, you'll try to start the apocalypse because you're an old dog. He's like, you're going to do what you know. He's like, that's the problem. He's like, no matter who wins, everyone else loses. He's like, so no. He's like, I'm not doing this because I'm choosing my brother. He's like, I'm doing this because I trust my friends. I trust my brother. He's like, that we will figure this out and we will stop this. It's like, but I'm not saying yes to you because I'm not going to, be your bitch. So Lucifer says, okay, plan B. And he just starts pummeling Sam. Well, you hear the commotion in the room with Dean and Crowley and Cass, and they run. Crowley's like, no. So Rowena continues to work on the spell. There, Lucifer sees him. He snaps his finger, and then they're in the cage. He's like, welcome to the party. Are you scared yet? And Dean's like, not even a little bit. So Cass pulls an angel blade out, tries to stab him. They start fighting. Sam looks at Dean. Hey, we're not going to win. He's like, we don't need to win. We just need to hold him for a little bit. So then they all start scuffling. You still see Rowena working on the spell, whatever it is, and they're all fighting. Lucifer gets a hold of Dean. He's like, Sam, say yes, and I won't kill him. But Cass breaks him, so then he's got Cass down. And they're talking, and then they're fighting. And then Rowena does something, and all of a sudden, right before Lucifer stabs Castiel, he just vanishes into this light. So you're kind of like, okay, what just happened? So you see them walking out of the cage, and they're talking about, we still got to figure out the darkness. And Crowley's pretty much, no, team up over your problem. So you see them walking out of hell, and Cass says, you guys go ahead, I'll catch up. And Sam and Dean get in the car, and Sam asks if Cass is okay, and he's like, yeah. He says, what if he can beat him? What if he was? And Dean's like, no. Having the darkness, having Amara is bad news. Like, but having the devil and the darkness, that's a nightmare. See Crowley and Rowena, they're back inside hell, and they're talking, and she's rubbing his temples, and I guess just being his little lapdog, and he says, why do you hate me? And she goes in this dialogue, and I would say out of all the episodes that Rowena's been in, the actress who plays her did such a phenomenal job with this. She pretty much tells him that she hates him because he reminds her, being a weak, scared little girl before she became the witch of this covenant and this powerful woman. And he reminds her of when she was weak, and how the fact that his father said he'd love her and then he left her after he was born for some other woman. And that's why she hates him. She hates him because if she didn't, she'd love him. And love is a weakness. And then you see Castiel walk into the room. And they look at him. And he's like, Castiel. And his expression changes. He says, no, think again. And it turns out, they show a flashback right before Lucifer stabbed him. Cass like, can you really do it? And he says, yes. And the Cass says, well then yes. Lucifer is now using Castiel's body as a vessel. So he throws Crowley into the wall. And then he undoes Rowena. And he says, you were faithful. You did this. You deserve a reward. And he goes to kiss her and says, but one thing. Are you the only one who can open the cage? And she pauses. She says, yes. He's like, good. And he puts his hand, and I called it. And he snaps her neck. And then he looks down at Crowley and says, we need to talk. So that was the episode. Now I'm going to go over what I liked. I loved the Sam-Lucifer dynamic. Something that had been missing since the 5th season. The guy who plays Lucifer, still killing it. Dude was phenomenal. He played his role well. I'm a little sad that now they have Misha playing that role. But I think Misha is a good enough actor. He'll do good. And it leaves you with the question, well, how are they going to get rid of Lucifer now on top of the darkness? Are they going to have to bring in God? What I also liked, I liked seeing Crowley and his mother and their dynamic, and their bantering back and forth, and then bringing Dean in the mix and his wittiness and his cockiness. Overall, I just love this episode. Now, things that I didn't like, I think the whole Ambrielle thing, I don't think there was a point to it, or even Amara having to have her in this episode. I mean, it was good to see that actress. She does good with her part. But that, I don't know. You got the darkness, right? And you got Lucifer out now. The worst nightmare that could possibly be is out there. You got to wonder, what is Lucifer's real agenda now? Are they going to be able to get Castiel separated from him? And why did Cass say yes? Castiel would never have done that. I will say, I think the reason he did is because what Ambrielle did tell him about being weak. That, to me, is the only logical point that I think could make Castiel say something like that and do something that drastic. I'm interested now as to see what the boys will do, how long before they find out that Lucifer is running around in Cass's suit, meat suit. I'm a little sad Rowena's gone. That's something I think that also I would put as a negative, since it's coming to me and I'm thinking about it. But other than that, episode was great. But tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Comment below down there. You can also subscribe to our channel at the Yo Bro Gaming and Reviews. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more, we have an Arrow review that went up. I also have a Flash review. I'll put the links to those videos in the description. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us at Zach2002 on Twitter. You can also follow Wayne on the PlayStation Network if you're a gamer and you have a PlayStation Network account at Punisher Slayer 19. That will do it for us. God bless America. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.